The latest season of Supergirl has come to a close. That means it's time to stop and rank all 4 seasons of Supergirl from the worst to the best. Hi, my name is Sean, and I love to talk about movies and TV way too much. With that in mind, go ahead and join me down below in the comment section. Share your ranking of the Supergirl seasons. Which ones do you love? Which ones do you hate? And everything in between. We're going to disagree, and that's a good thing. Let's just do so respectfully. Previously, I've already ranked the seasons of Arrow and The Flash. You can see those right up here after this video. I'm not going to rank Legends of Tomorrow because I haven't watched all the seasons and I don't want to just make things up. Also, as we go into this, I would describe myself as a fan of Arrow and The Flash. Supergirl's a show that's in that universe, so I have caught up on it. I'm not as much of a fan of it by nature. So just as a point of reference as I go into this, where I'm coming from, with that said, let's get started. Coming in last place is going to be Season 2. Right out of the gate, I actually really enjoyed their interpretation of Superman. He showed up in the first 2 episodes of the season, and it was just really nice and refreshing to have kind of an old-fashioned aw shucks Superman join into the mix after the DCEU has kind of had a darker take on things. And I really enjoyed what they were able to do with the characters, the interaction, and just him being this hopeful, positive hero inside of this universe. But obviously it's not his show, and he's only in a few episodes in this season, and most of the other directions they kind of took things didn't resonate with me all that much. One of the big plot lines here is the Mon-El character, and I just didn't really care for him in this season. What they did with him, the way he was used, the way he interacted with Kara, like none of it was something that was particularly interesting to me. And then that is, as that kind of developed into the main villain plot line of the season, as the Daxamites showed up, the culture of the Daxamites and the way that they were acted by Terry Hatch and Kevin Sorbo was kind of dull to me. It's kind of this stiff, old-fashioned royalty form of acting that seems very unnatural to me, and I don't think it fits in the 21st century. It certainly doesn't fit in a very vibrant show like this that's known for being energetic in the way it does things. And I just thought Terry Hatcher and Kevin Sorbo have been much better in other things, and every time they were acting, I was like, why would you get these actors that can be fun to be this stiff in their performances? Fortunately, I didn't care for that too much. And then also the idea of making Jimmy Olsen a superhero and becoming Guardian, it just seems like such a weird direction to take Jimmy Olsen. And if you want to do that with your side character, why would you call him Jimmy Olsen and then make him a superhero? That just struck me as really odd. And this is also where the show started to get pretty in your face with some of the allegory and commentary on modern politics that just seem really out of place, given that this show is about actual aliens in outer space coming to Earth. And I just don't know that there's a lot of parallels between that and modern politics. So unfortunately, when I think back on this season, the big positives that kind of came to mind were regarding kind of the uses of Superman in a few of the episodes, but a lot of the other stuff was not what I enjoy about this show. Bringing us into the top 3 is Season 3. In general, this was just a little bit more of a pleasant experience for me in regards to watching the show. I think they figured out a better way to use Mon-El with the idea of him coming back from the future and being a more heroic character when he returns. I thought it fit better into the story, and just in general, I enjoyed what they did with those kind of time travel elements inside of it and how it kind of played into the story. In general, the Reign storyline was good enough. It provided a worthy opponent for Supergirl and some mystery with the way they did it with the family and her not knowing who she was and the daughter character playing into it. Yeah, I could have done without the cult aspects inside of it and Chad Lowe's character and all of those things, but in general, I didn't have a negative vibe about the storyline. Also thought they stretched out the Alex-Maggie plotline way too long because it seemed pretty obvious to me from the beginning that they weren't going to stay together. Maggie's not written to be a very likable character, and they very clearly are heading in different directions. So I thought it was strange how long they stretched all of that out. So in general, it's a season that I had a couple gripes with. It's also a season that didn't make a big impact on me. It's not that there wasn't a bunch of things I hated, but there wasn't also a lot of things that I loved. It was just, this is the season that's just kind of there for me. Our runner-up is Season 4. If Season 3 was the season I was just kind of like, yeah, it was just kind of there, this is the one that I have the strongest positive and negative impressions about it. There's so many things I was like, oh, that was really cool, and and so many things I was like, that was not so cool. But whether I loved it or whether I hated it, it kept me interested. At the center of this one was Sam Witwer's Children of Liberty plotline, dealing with this idea of America's feelings towards aliens on the Earth, and Sam Witwer being the one kind of championing the fact that they are dangerous because of his backstory. And this plotline right here is the one that I just was going back and forth on. Do I love or hate this? Because they would do certain things and it would just seem like such in-your-face, really bad, really shallow allegory for modern politics. And then they'd do the next episode and they'd show the backstory of Sam Witwer's character and you'd be like, oh, okay, I see where this is coming from. Okay, this is interesting. They're actually kind of giving some depth and a reason for the way he is this way. And then they go back to the next episode and his character's just like ridiculous again. And it went back and forth. I wish with his character's plotline, they would have taken it in a very different direction for about the last 5 episodes. When it was revealed to us and slowly to him that he was a pawn, I think that they should have made a big change of direction with his character. Some of my favorite aspects of the season would have been Martian Manhunter's father in the mix, and that they got Carl Lumbly to be his father. That's really good casting. This show's kind of known for doing a lot of stunt casting type stuff in the mix, and sometimes it just feels kind of like they're forcing people in there. But Carl Lumbly voiced the Martian Manhunter on the Justice League cartoon, and so he fits in really nicely. He brings this nice screen presence, and he can be funny, he can be serious, and you feel like he would be the father of this character. So I loved that casting and what they did with that character inside of the season. Of course, you've got Lex Luthor in it, and they brought John Cryer, who played Lex Luthor's nephew in Superman 4: The Quest for Peace. Was just kind of an interesting, another example of stunt casting with the show. I thought it was 75% really good. When he's doing kind of the mischievous version of the character that's a little bit jokey, intentionally kind of campy, I thought he could do that really well, but they also added this aspect where in the middle of things he would like break into yelling and screaming and do this rage thing. The 25% rage thing, I didn't think he pulled that off. He's not an angry guy. He doesn't actually give off that vibe at all. This version, I think, fits the show pretty nicely. So generally speaking, a nice fit for what they were going for here. But as we kind of moved into the last 5 episodes, some of the writing seemed just lazy. There's no other word for it other than lazy writing. Supergirl gets killed and like, oh, we don't want Supergirl to die. Let's come up with the idea that Supergirl can pull light energy out of plants. Like that just feels like the dumb, lazy writing. There's a bunch of stuff where they have, fake Supergirl Red Daughter do evil things. And so everyone thinks that Supergirl, and they immediately turn on her, even though we've already established that there's shapeshifters in this universe. Like everyone knows that. That's part of the president deceived us. So we know that it could be someone besides Supergirl. As they tried to pull all the stuff together, the pieces didn't fully fit for me. So a bunch of things left me really frustrated while I really enjoyed other things. So this is the one where I go back. I didn't even know where to place it. I didn't know if I was going to put this one last. I didn't know if I was going to put it first because so many things were pulling me around. In the end, it kept me interested. It gave me a lot of things I wanted to talk about, so it comes in at number 2. Coming in first place is season 1. It just seems with all of these Greg Berlanti superhero shows, I feel they start stronger, and the longer they go along, the more kind of crazy they get as they try and stack layers of complexity on top of it. And same with this show. I enjoyed where they started things. Right off the bat, you get to see her as a normal person with a job. Now, she technically has a job in the later seasons, but it seems like the fact that she has a normal life just gets very sidelined as the show gets along, and she spends more time as the superhero and it has at command center for superhero base and everything. But here you get to see her have superhero life and normal life, and she's trying to balance these two things a little bit more. Also in the mix, you've got her friend Wynn, who she does very early on reveal what's going on, which makes for an interesting dynamic since normally these shows keep that a secret for as long as possible. This one built it in from the beginning that just kind of reveals it to him. But it was nice that he was a guy that just had a normal job and wasn't on the superhero team. Now, one character I wish they would have done more with as the series went on was Maxwell Lord. I liked kind of the back and forth, is he good, is he bad, which side is he on, nature of his character and the dynamic that he brought to the show. One character that for this show I've never particularly cared for was the James Olsen character, because I just don't understand why they went in this direction. If you wanted to have a stud side character, why would you make it Jimmy Olsen? Like, I don't know if that's a thing now in the comics that Jimmy Olsen is this suave, athletic, handsome man, like a ladies' man. Like, I don't know if that's a thing now, but Jimmy Olsen is traditionally none of those things. And so when you design him that way, I just go, why did we call him Jimmy Olsen? Why do we call him James Olsen? And changing it from Jimmy to James doesn't fix the fact that that's not at the core of who this character is. I never really cared for the fact that they've made him Jimmy Olsen. And then it was just a ton of fun when they were able to do the Flash crossover episode. Now those have become commonplace that they kind of swap through all the Earths and different shows all the time. But when they did that one at the first, this show was still on CBS. So it was huge because a character from CW way over here showed up on CBS. And it was a real fun little episode with some very nice dynamics between the two characters that I thoroughly enjoyed. So in general, this is by far my favorite season of this show, the one that I could just enjoy the most. There wasn't too many things about it that were frustrating for me, where the rest of the show got pretty frustrating at times. This was just a fun, slightly campy superhero show that I had a good time with, so it comes in at number 1. Be sure to check out my ranking of Arrow and the Flash right over there in that playlist. Thank you so much for watching, and keep talking movies and TV too much.